Marvel may be dominating these days up on the big screen and in the panels of comic books, but the publishing giant doesn't always have the best track record when it comes to other forms of media, specifically video games. Marvel has a long history of lackluster video game titles, ranging from a slew of different publishers, and while there seems to be hope on the horizon with upcoming Marvel-based video games, taking a look into the company's past is almost embarrassing. So today we're examining the top 10 worst Marvel video games. Some of these are the offspring of rushed gimmicky titles, while others feel like the developers had a poor understanding of the Marvel characters and its properties. Regardless of the cause, they're all questionable at best. Now before we jump into our list, I just want to shout out a brand new sister channel of ours called Tier List. It brings all of the hosts from our various channels together, along with occasional special guests, to rank items, subjects, products, you name it, all into tiers. So be sure to head on over there and check out that channel. Alright, now let's get to our list. And at number 10, Thor God of Thunder. There's quite a few different movie tie-ins on our list, and the 2011 title Thor The God of Thunder is one of them. Released for the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii, the game was compared to God of War, but was also called crappier, like a crappier version of God of War. It's a hack and slash published by Sega, meaning you know you're getting subpar quality. And despite it being a tie-in with the MCU and Thor's first film's release, it exists in a completely different universe, and features characters in it who would, years later, appear in Thor Ragnarok. Now for the most part, critics panned the game minus its Nintendo DS version, which actually fared pretty decently, being a classic 2D side-scroller. The other versions of the game were hated on for poor graphics, glitches and bugs galore, and for being incredibly repetitive. Moving on to number 9, XMen Madness in Murder World for the Commodore 64. Despite its wonderful name, Madness in Murder World feels like a Mario ripoff. It's essentially the same premise, with Charles Xavier stepping in for Princess Peach. Released in 1989 for both the Commodore and the Amiga systems, Xavier has been kidnapped by Magneto and Arcade, and you play as the X-Men. You need to rescue him. Each X-Men member you play has a different ability in this side-scroller, all of which are required at some point or another to get past certain obstacles throughout the levels. So you may be thinking, that sounds pretty dope. Who cares if it's a ripoff of Super Mario? Well, some of its mechanics were majorly flawed. If one of your X-Men characters dies early on in the game, you won't be able to get past certain barriers. The level lengths are all over the place too, making the pacing feel wonky. While it's definitely not the worst title on this list, that's coming in at number 9, it's still a title that could have been so much more, had a bit more planning gone into its design. And at number 8, The Punisher No Mercy for the PS3. In theory, this could have been a great game, but The Punisher No Mercy, a 2009 title, is a first-person shooter that feels like it just didn't quite hit the mark. I think this quote from GameSpot sums it up pretty well. The Punisher No Mercy is a pretty bad game all around. There's just not really anything to like here, unfortunately. Ouch, burn. On the flip side of that, it's one of the only games on our list that did get some mixed reviews, with some critics noting that they felt it had replay value, and that it was incredibly entertaining. Essentially, to give you a better idea at the scope of the title, the story mode only has 4 matches played on different maps with different game types, so it's basically an arena shooter. But it did offer local multiplayer and online play, including a deathmatch mode, despite, the things you could do being kind of limited. Graphically though, compared to other titles released on the PS3 at the time, it fell pretty short. The game is also no longer available. The developers and studios lost the licensing rights in 2011, causing it to be pulled from the PSN store altogether. And at 7, Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects. An EA title, Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects, is a fighting game from 2005. It pinned the characters of the Marvel Universe against a team of alien supervillains called the Imperfects, a race of metahumans mutated by an alien doctor the name of Niles Van Rokel. So why do people think this game is poop? Well, its story mode was not great, and the multiplayer aspect was quite limited. It was also difficult thanks to AI characters abusing chain projectile special moves, leaving players facing a fatality if their health dropped too low. In addition to that, it left out some important characters in its roster of playable heroes, including Captain America and the Hulk. But hey, you can always play as the Thing or the Human Torch. Upon the game's release, Marvel came out with a 6-issue comic miniseries that, funny enough, actually contradicts what happens in the game, minus having the same characters involved in its plot. It should be no surprise that the new characters, the Imperfects, have never seen the light of day again in a Marvel property. Moving on to number 6, The Incredible Hulk. For the PS2, PS3, PC, Nintendo Wii, and the Xbox 360, here we have another tie-in video game, this one being for the MCU Hulk film starring Edward Norton that no one really remembers all that well. It's an open world title that felt as if it were taking points from the 2005 Hulk Ultimate Destruction title, yet struggling struggled thanks to poor graphics, wonky camera controls, and a combat system that didn't get the best of reviews. The combat mechanics were the worst. The Hulk's fighting abilities lacked impact and felt sloppy, and did nothing to serve the character justice. What's the point then? And at 5, XMen Destiny. Similar to our last number, XMen Destiny was largely considered to be a disappointment. Prior to its release, XMen Destiny was hyped up big time, with promises that the 2011 title would include a decision-based narrative, with players' decisions affecting the story's outcome, and that players could create their own custom mutants. As the promotional material read, I quote, "The all-new original video game casts players as new mutant recruits in a rich, branching storyline that features a deep element of choice and gives players ultimate control of their destiny." Those features were lacking at best, and many critics felt the game felt unfinished, and that the story was quite short. The graphics were weak and the combat was repetitive, although some critics did acknowledge that the title went out of its way in terms of fan service. You win some, you lose some. Or you lose a lot and you win one little thing. Up next, number 4, Silver Surfer for the NES. The 1990 Silver Surfer game is a shoot-'em-up side-scroller that makes this list thanks to one annoying factor. It's wickedly difficult. Aside from boss battles, the screen never stops scrolling forward, meaning you need to keep up at all costs, which would normally be alright if some of the obstacles felt like they didn't just come out of nowhere. If you touch the screen edges, you die. Whenever you lose a life, all of the spheres you've collected, firepower, and extra powers are also lost. Many critics felt like it was a rip-off of Contra, and many critics felt it didn't do the character justice, including Games Radar, who ranked it as one of the worst games ever made. To be fair, the Surfer is the embodiment of the power cosmic, and in the game he can be killed off by some pretty mundane foes, which felt inaccurate compared to his character in the comics. Also doesn't help that the Surfer's sprite felt unusually large, making him an easy target when it came to sustaining damage. But hey, it was praised for how great its music was, so at least there's that. And at number 3, Iron Man from 2008. Yet another movie tie-in game. This 2008 Iron Man game was a tie-in with the MCU 2008 Iron Man film, and despite having voice acting from the likes of both Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard back when he was still Rhodey, the game still didn't manage to impress. Criticized for its poor development, wonky counterintuitive controls, creatively lacking level design, and a whole lot of NPCs, it's yet another Sega-published game. And as you imagined, critics hated it. It even won the Worst Game Everyone Played award from GameSpot at their 2008 Video Game Awards. Somehow a sequel game was introduced, but that's yet another title that has faded into oblivion, so. Moving on to number 2, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. The first Fantastic Four video game for the PS2, Xbox, PC, and GameCube almost made our list, but its sequel really takes the cake for being significantly worse. Rise of the Silver Surfer was also a tie-in movie video game for that terrible first attempt at a Fantastic Four film. Or rather, the sequel to that terrible first Fantastic Four film. Thank God Fox won't be making any more Fantastic Four films. Rise of the Silver Surfer was obviously also a movie tie-in video game, and many critics loved comparing it to how both the film and the game were absolute Graphics? No good. Length of the game? Laughably short. Gameplay mechanics? Calling them sloppy would be generous. Although you do get fun little pictures of the original Fantastic Four cast in the left-hand corner of your screen. Remember when Chris Evans was the Human Torch? Yeah, let's maybe just wipe that from our memories. And finally, in at number 1, the Uncanny XMen for the NES. Released in 1989, the Uncanny XMen is a game that couldn't feel less like a Marvel property. For starters, the sprites look nothing like the characters they're meant to be. It's a top-down action-adventure title, and the game suffers from some serious lack of development. For example, a big criticism was how the enemies and the levels were set up to respond better to characters who were shooters. But that makes playing characters with short-range attacks like Wolverine incredibly difficult. Yet playing characters like Cyclops made the game incredibly easy, and laughable, really. I mean, not that you could really even distinguish one character from the next in the long run anyway. Critics also complained about the aesthetics of levels, with them feeling garish and abrasive. And the controls? Well, let's just say movement was not this game's forte. Yikes. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other Marvel video games do you think deserve a spot on this list? Give us a shout in the comments below and let us know. If you dug this video, be sure to spread the love and hit that like button, and hey, why not subscribe while you're at it? We would love to see you around some more. And before you go, make sure you check out Tier List. In the meantime, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next one.